Hey everyone. Looks like I scheduled this for tomorrow, and I'm really sorry. We're starting now. We're starting now. Just waiting for the feed. Sorry about that, y'all. Let me go look at YouTube and see how confusing that looks on YouTube. Let me know if you can't hear me. I am talking. How are you supposed to let me know you can't hear me? I do see that there are people here, so that's good. I hate scheduling mistakes. My goodness. What a dork I can be sometimes. Yeah, okay. I think we're all right. So, while we're waiting for court to start, and we've got the camera on the logo, did anyone hear about there was basically, it sounds like either a gang or a drug cartel shooting in California where a family was killed execution style in California, in Central California. It's a horrific, horrific, horrific story. It was definitely targeted, and when the police arrived on the scene, what they found was, I want to make sure. I'm going to type in the chat to see if you can hear me. Make sure I've got this. Anyway, I'll show a clip from, if there's a break in court this morning, I'll show a news report about this. But among the people killed in this massacre, so there were 6 people killed. 2 of them. Oh, thank you, Tattooed. Okay, good. You can hear. So among the 6 people that were killed, one was a 16-year-old girl as she was running from the home with her 10-month-old child. Both of them were shot in the head execution style and found in the street when the cops came. It's just, life is scary. There's I recently went down the rabbit hole of watching all of those Narcos shows, and I know I'm kind of late to the game. They've been out for a while, there was one whole series about Pablo Escobar and his rise, and now there's a Narcos Mexico, and there's a bunch of other shows about the cartels, and it kind of takes you down a rabbit hole, and it leads you to finding out that cartel activity has picked up, has basically moved to California and picked up in speed. And when you think about the violence that they portray in these, real in these actual docu-series, and then you see evidence of it happening right there in California, and it's a town right in the middle of California. um kind of like you would call it a Central Valley area. um and I think that there's a lot of cartel activity. there's we have a highway 5 that runs through the entire state, north to south, south to north. And I think when you're living along that corridor, maybe that's where, you know, I would imagine that that's where a lot of cartel cargo is transported. So there would be a lot of, you know, to the extent that there are offshoots along the way. Um, there are, places where the cartel are, um, living in California. And this isn't just people who are, from other countries. These are people who are recruited by the cartel in our country, so it's not a, hey, welcome, Amelia. It's not a, I don't like to get into, oh, it's because they're from this country or that country. There are bad people everywhere in every single country, in every single um, socioeconomic status, in every single, men, women, wherever you are, there is criminal activity, and it shouldn't be profiled based on, where you live or what you look like. Um, what should be looked at is the, pattern of individual or specific gang or cartel related behavior that really the police and law enforcement are best equipped to help us understand. I do trust that they're in, the law enforcement are in a, basically, I wanted to say, I almost said quiet war. I don't mean quiet war. It's not a quiet war, but there's definitely an ongoing battle, a power battle between law enforcement and the government and, drug activity. But unfortunately, as we know, no, I do have the volume on. I don't know. Okay, here we go.
Reflect counsel are present, the defendant is present, and the witness is still on the stand. Good morning.
All right.
You may continue with your
I'm going to let this trial speak now.
Ms. Tabalanza, when we left off yesterday, we were talking about the time frame when May had moved in with you and your husband JR in the month of May 2020. Do you recall that?
Yes, that's correct.
During that time frame, May to June 2020, did you and your sister-in-law friend May spend time together outside of the home and outside of work?
Yes.
What kinds of things would you do?
She likes to go hiking, so we would go hiking and walk.
Take walks.
Yes, take walks.
It's okay, B. Castle. Welcome.
Did you have conversations with May where she opened up a bit more about her relationship with the defendant?
Yes.
Did she ever express to you concerns or things that she wanted for her children?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said that she needed space because as time goes by that she's away from Larry, it gives her a clear head, and she want to stop lying, and she want the kids to not be exposed to that.
She wanted to stop lying?
What do you mean by that? Did she give some kind of example?
Yes, for example, Larry doesn't like eating in a car, the kids to eat in the car. So May would say that she would just let the kids eat in the car, and that she would just lie to Larry that, oh, it was me or my friend. And then she would lie in front of the kids. And then she said that she doesn't want that exposure anymore for the kids.
Did she say anything else about um, what she wanted for her kids in terms of what they might see about the relationship between her and the defendant?
She mentioned something about, I just don't want to be treated this way. I know what she meant by that. But she just said that Larry gets angry with her parents and that she doesn't want that exposure
That Larry gets angry with her parents?
with Larry's parents. And then she, I guess, the yelling, and then she doesn't want that exposure for her kids.
During the time that May was living with you during May and June, what car was she using?
She was using the Lexus.
Did they also have a 4Runner?
Yes,
Did you ever see May driving the 4Runner?
yes.
And do you know whose 4Runner that car was?
The Forerunner belongs to Larry's parents. So what would happen is that
Hi,
if
Samantha.
May goes to
Welcome.
work, she'll drive the Lexus, then go back home, and then drive the Forerunner back to the apartment. Because May said that Larry don't want the Lexus park outside the apartment.
When you refer to the apartment, are you talking about where you and JR were living?
Yes, we live in an apartment.
And that's where May was staying with you?
Yes,
At that time, May, June of 2020, were you aware that Larry's parents lived at the house on Paseo Los Gatos?
yes,
And so they had a 4Runner.
yes.
And so
See, the parents
in the
do live
morning,
there.
what would May do prior to going to work?
She would drive the Forerunner back to their house in Paseo Los Gatos, pick up drive the Lexus to take the kids to school, and then go to work.
Did she ever comment to you about scars on the wall?
Yes, it's one of our hikes that she said that she's needed space, and then she started of seeing the scars on the wall. And then I told him, what scars? I don't see it. And then she said that when Larry gets angry, he would punch the wall. And I said, I don't see it. And he said that we would patch it up so you won't see it.
More testimony about him punching walls.
During this time, you also said that the defendant
Yes,
was
ma'am,
sending you
Amelia.
text messages.
Yes.
We looked at one of those yesterday. I'm going to show you.
Oh, no,
Let's say
it's
ours
not
was
Larry's
posted at
sister, it's-
13-2, which should be in the binder that you're trying to view, and you can flip to 13-2.
Maya's brother's
And
wife.
actually,
Let's see the party's sidebar. On report.
Yeah, so Genesis is the wife of, maybe I should make that clearer in my banner there. She is the wife of Maya's younger brother, JR, who testified the other day. And he's the one that testified that when he was there looking for Maya, Larry complained that, oh man, I can't believe that, it's considered domestic violence when you just, punch a wall next to somebody's face. And then he demonstrated it. And he hit the wall next to JR's face. So that's a pattern, right? This is something that he resorts to is hitting walls when he's angry. And that definitely is an intimidation factor. It is abuse. It's not, physical violence, right? But it is abusive to exert violence, right? To show what you are willing to do to somebody, right? To do that to an intimate partner is abusive. Just flat out, it is. And he was complaining about that. Man, I can't even hit the wall without being called abusive. Well, yeah. No, Liz, Maya's mother has not been on the stand. I'm also wondering if they're going to call Larry's parents because, again, they keep saying on and off that Larry's parents lived in the house, but anybody who's testified talking about going to the house to find Maya never talk about them being there when they go to look for her. So I wonder if they like move in and out, or maybe they were away at that point. I wonder how well Larry can hear his lawyer whispering to him while he has earphones on, talking to him. I mean, if you got hearing issues, maybe take your headphones off while you're talking to the lawyer, or maybe it's soothing music. I'm sorry. I reserve some of my mocking for actual people who seem to be alleged murderers. Liz, I Googled it and found an article about children living with his parents. Larry was very aggressive, saying Maya's parents were alcoholics, etc., and not fit. Yeah, there's a whole custody battle. And apparently his parents and he basically won that custody battle. But where are they living? With the parents? Are they living in the house where everybody was living? And again, they keep talking about how Larry's parents were living in the home. That was literally just what Maya's sister-in-law, Genesis, testified to. Were Larry's parents there too? Yes, Larry's parents there, but this was in a whole different set of time. But where were Larry's parents when everybody was going to look for Maya in the house when she went missing? Nobody talked about them being there. And are they forgetting? Were they not there? I don't know if anybody in the chat knows that detail. I've just been confused about that. All right, I'm going to change this banner so it's less confused, so it's more clear. On the stand is Maya's brother's wife, a friend who is also a friend and co-worker of Maya's. Maybe that's clearer. Yeah, maybe there was an in-law portion that was separated, so it was hard to see whether they were there. Maybe it's a large house. I thought it was, but maybe it was 4 bedrooms and a den. Maybe there's an in-law. Where they're living in San Diego. Well, it's actually Chula Vista, which is right on the border of Mexico, between in California and Mexico. And the development that they live in is rather new, and it's not, you see a lot of in-laws in older houses in like San Francisco, older homes in Los Angeles and things like that. They're kind of funky. The houses are a little bit, older and built. And, basically, Liz, all of California is really expensive. all of California is really expensive. But yeah, it's a nice house. It's a big house. It's I'm sure it's um you know, I'm sure it's a high value house. I just don't know. I remember it's over, yeah, 3,500 feet. I once had a 3,800-foot house, and it had four, let's see, one, two, three, four bedrooms and a, living room and a dining room and a formal room. And, you know, but we didn't have an in-law or anything like that. I mean, like, you still would have been in a 35, like, that's a 3,500 foot square foot house. You would know that the parents were there. Like, I've lived in a 3,800 square foot house. You know all the people who are there. They can't hide away that easily. So it's I'm just super confused about that, and maybe it'll come out in testimony. And I wonder what they're sidebarring about for so long. Could they be talking about, maybe they're also talking about the parents, because that was the last. It is, yes, Amelia. I mean, that's what's so difficult. Why does it have to be so life is great in California if you're fabulously wealthy. You can't, not everybody can be fabulously wealthy. It's it it can be really hard for most people to live in California. I mean, the cost of living is high, but also wages are higher in California. But but it can be a struggle for sure. Um, I just wonder what could they be talking about right now? Okay, 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath. Okay, yeah. I mean that. So even even a 5-bedroom, that is close to the kind of house that I lived in. I mean, not quite, but and like my mom and her husband had a house about that size. If you're walking all around the house looking for one person, you're going to find the other people. Does that make sense? Unless they're in a completely different edifice that's on the property. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna turn off sound for a second because I'm gonna move habitats. I'll be back momentarily. Okay, I'm back. What the heck? What the heck are they doing? What in the heck? Catching up with chat. My sister has a house, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, all the rooms, but very large, and it ain't in California. Yeah. I think Amelia asked the people on the camera, that was Larry and one of his attorneys, but not the one that's been doing the questioning, obviously, because that person is a woman. Welcome, Statler and Waldorf. Hello, new to the channel, but not true crime on YouTube. I'm in California and couldn't stay if my family wasn't here yet. I'm forced to stay because my family is here and we need the extra hands. I'd hate to leave. Yeah, that's the problem. California is absolutely beautiful. It really is. I mean, I've been nearly every state on the continent. And also I've been to Hawaii as well. I mean, California is an incredibly beautiful, beautiful place to live. The weather is amazing. It's just it's so sad to see the disparity in, the wealth and then the homelessness, the poverty. It is just, it's depressing. It's really depressing, you know? Yeah. My daughter's mom, single mom living in El Cajon, about 15 minutes. Yeah. It is crazy. It's really crazy. And then you just go boop right over the border and it completely changes. Yeah, I don't I don't care about I don't really like to comment on people's looks, and their weight gain and their weight loss and thing. I've always had a thing about that. I don't like commenting on people's looks. When I look at Larry and notice that he has, put on weight, I think about how he thinks about it because he, appears to be a fairly vain person. Somebody who you might imagine would be critical of somebody else who gained a lot of weight, in jail. I think of it through that. Yeah, I mean, and it's easy to not recognize him because he looks different from the pictures that were circulated when everything happened. There's these pictures of him. I mean, let me see if I can find the ones that I put here. I mean, he looks different from that, right? He looks different from that. Not totally different. You could tell that his weight has fluctuated off and on. Not a big deal. But I could tell that he's one of the types of people, it sounds to me, he's one of those types of people that will look down on somebody who gains weight, but here's a problem, y'all. In case you don't realize it, we all age. We all get older. We all, as we get older, have less of an ability to lose weight using the same diet regimens. We're all bound for the same place. It's not something that, we have that much control over. So, to criticize people's looks is just, it's the most common bottom barrel, like, I guess you couldn't think of a smart or reasonable argument to have, when you're commenting on somebody's weight or their looks or whatever. To me, it's just lazy. It's a mentally lazy exercise to be, not only commenting on people's looks, but just to be a general mean person. I mean, it's like submitting to the lizard brain. We all have that brain that wants to drive us to do all the things that only a lizard would want to do, which is eat and consume. And I don't know, we just have a portion of our brain that is just all about the survival. It's just survival mode, right? So, and it's get. And the internet, unfortunately, breaks down all the other parts of the brain and works right on our lizard brain and tells us that's, where we should operate from. And it makes us mean. It makes people mean. It makes people dumb. I helped start a nonprofit about all of this called the Center for Humane Technology. And we called it what technology is doing to humanity is called human downgrading. It's literally getting into changing our brains and downgrading our ability to think and process and pay attention. That's right, Liz, that too. It did not evolve to eat today's processed foods. It didn't. Evolution's been happening for millions of years, but humans have only been here thousands of years, and our bodies haven't evolved to and our brains, technology is evolving faster than our brains in terms of technology's ability to manipulate our brains has evolved faster than our brains. So, and the technology companies are just flat out taking advantage of that with how they've designed the internet, how they've designed the algorithm to want us to get more and more and more and more, fear and outrage and drama. Thank you so much, Amelia. I really appreciate that. I really do. Let's see what they're going to say.
We're off the record. Did you want to say something, sir?
Yes, Your Honor. David Gottfriedson.
At this point.
We're off the record.
Gottfriedson, with CBS 8 here in San Diego. We're accustomed to sidebars being ordered in cases, as you're aware, when there's a jury present and when there are brief issues that need to be said outside the presence of the jury. In this case, there appears to have been an on-the-record hearing for 25 minutes out of the presence of the public. And it's my understanding, I'm not an attorney, as you know, that some on-the-record findings need to be stated as to why the public is being excluded from those on-the-record proceedings in chambers.
I don't know who's talking.
And in some cases, there might have to be a hearing before the public can be excluded. And at the very least, I think it's fair that we be given notice as to why those proceedings were held in the event that we want to challenge.
Maybe it's a member of the press.
And maybe unseal those.
I think it is a member of the press.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're ready.
Anybody who's been following coverage of this case probably recognizes that voice.
When we were off the record, we had a request from one of our media representatives regarding sidebars that are not being conducted in open court, but are on the record. I will address the request later this morning regarding unsealing it or providing an explanation for why that is being not held in open court. I'll address that later, but
Judge doesn't look too confident in saying any of that.
So, we're back on the record. Witness is on the stand. You may continue with your.
Interesting.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Tabalanza, looking at the exhibits 13-1, 13-2, 13-3, 13-4, 13-5, 13-6,
Agree, Liz.
13-7, and 13-8. Have you looked at each of those segments of text messages and compared them to what is on your cell phone to determine whether or not they're accurate in terms of dates and times and content?
Yes,
And are they accurate?
yes.
At some point in 2021, I believe it was June 14th of 2021, did you meet with detectives from the Chula Vista Police Department?
I remember meeting with them.
Maybe you don't remember the exact date.
I don't remember the exact date.
Do you recall providing your cell phone to the detectives to allow them to do an extraction of your cell phone contents and provide them with copies of the text messages?
Yes, I did.
And is it fair to say that the exhibits 13-1 through 13-8, those are not the way they appear on your phone? Is that fair?
Yes,
And so, do you know whether or not, the contents, the way they're kind of being displayed in the format in these exhibits, you don't know whether or not that's the way they come in when they're downloaded from your phone or not? Is that fair to say?
yeah, yes,
But you have checked to make sure the content.
I did check.
Looking at 13-2, do those appear to be text messages that were sent to you from Larry, and then in pink, messages that you responded back to Larry?
Yes,
Checking that up on the screen, is 13-2 the same exhibit that is in the binder?
yes,
And the dates up at the top are May 14th and 15th, 2020, are the messages in the content here from March 14th and 15th.
yes.
Did you actually, prior to coming to court this morning, review your text messages from May 14th and 15th?
Yes, I did.
Did you count how many messages the defendant sent you during that time frame?
Yes, I did.
How many messages did he send you between May 14th and May 15th, 2020?
This is the first time we're really seeing the
43
courtroom.
messages.
Was that that number of text messages, was it common for the defendant at that time to send you text messages on a daily basis?
Yes,
And was that number of text messages, so it's kind of going back then, May 14th, do you recall approximately how many text messages the defendant sent you that day?
20.
Was it common or uncommon at that time for the defendant to send you 20 text messages in a day?
Common since May moved in to our apartment.
And how long did it last that he was sending you that many text messages a day, approximately?
Until until June, July.
Were there some days he sent you more than 20 messages?
Yes,
Did you look at a date at the end of May, just kind of at random, before coming to court today?
yes, I did.
What date was that?
On May 26.
How many messages did the defendant send you that day?
I counted correctly, it's about 199 text messages.
would it be common that he would send you text messages before you even had a chance to respond?
Yes.
And was there ever occasion where the defendant would call you
Yes.
at the same time or kind of around the same time that he's sending you text messages?
Yes.
Do you know why he would then call you if he was sending you text messages?
If I don't get to respond, he'll call.
Looking at these text messages up on the screen. I'm going to call out a few of these. They start with, she said she's bored. And again, in blue, these are messages from the defendant.
Yes.
And your response was, I think she's just saying that.
Yes.
And then the defendant says, I hope so. I feel like throwing up and my heart drops. That's one text message.
Yes.
And then the next line, is that a separate text message?
Yes.
So he says, every time. Another text message, I'm spent. Every day is a struggle. Those are text messages that the defendant sent to you.
Yes.
May 14th.
Did we get an answer?
I heard her say
Those
yes.
messages that I just read to you, those were from May 14th.
Yes.
So he doesn't have
And he
regular.
continued, every day is a struggle. I'm beat down to the bone. I really appreciate your support and feedback. It keeps me afloat. You don't even know I'm drowning. And those were text messages he sent to you also on May 14th, correct?
Yes.
What time did those text messages end on May 14th?
About 11 at night. 22:58.
And then what time did the text messages begin on May 15th?
6:14.
And during this time, 6:14 in the morning or the evening?
I believe in the morning.
If I recall, it was around this time frame, like the June time frame, when
At
he
this
ordered
time,
that
May
hex.
is living at your house.
Yes.
So the first message he sends to you is, did she spend the night there or leave during the night? I have knots in my stomach for some reason. That was the first message that morning.
Yes.
And then he indicates panic or anxiety attack, sorry to bother you. And then in pink, what did you say?
I said she stayed here and slept beside Mama. I told her the bed will hurt her back on day 5.
And then what did the defendant text you after that?
Thanks, Jen. My mind is my greatest enemy.
And who's Jen?
That's me.
The nickname that people call you?
Yes.
My mind is my worst enemy. I think people can relate to that. Sometimes it means that
Did
worse things than
the
others.
defendant ever talk to you about going to May's workplace?
Yes.
What did he say about that?
I think one time he called me and said he's at the parking lot. And then I told him that, what are you doing here?
Do you know where the defendant was working at the time?
Yes.
And that was Balboa Hospital. He worked also for the military.
Yes.
Do you know whether or not he was able to access the base, the SWARMAC base, given with his credentials?
Yes.
Do you know, did he tell you whether or not he actually went to the base?
He called me.
And what did he say?
There are like I think a couple times that he called that he was just at the parking lot to bring lunch to his wife, and then there's one where he just showed up as a surprise.
And why was he calling you to tell you that?
I'm not sure why.
Was there anything unusual about the conversation or something that stands out to you about the conversation?
No. I mean the other one where he came up surprise.
When you say the other one, is that a
Well, because
specific-
there was the time that he brought lunch, so I think that's okay. Well, maybe I can have lunch too. But and then there's another one where he just came up unannounced, so that would be like surprise to me. Like, oh, why would you come unannounced?
Do you recall when that was? The unannounced?
No, I don't. Sorry.
While May was living at your apartment, did the defendant ever come over to the apartment?
Yes,
Why?
to bring the kids.
So May sometimes had the children at the apartment.
Yes,
Did she express a desire to have the kids at the apartment?
yes.
Do you know when May moved back to the house on San Los Gatos?
Yes, it's end of June.
Do you know, did you speak to Larry on that day?
Yes, he sent me text messages.
What messages was he sending you on that day? What was the content or the kind of general content of those messages?
That he was at work. He went to follow me at work, and that he saw he saw a truck. He saw that May went in a truck. He sent me a picture, and then he asked me what he should do, and I said, "Don't do anything. Don't approach. Don't make a scene."
What was your understanding of where he was, where the defendant was?
At the parking lot at Swarma.
And did he tell you how he ended up there or why he went to the parking lot?
He followed me.
Did he send you a text message of with a photograph?
Yes.
And what was that text message? What was the photo of?
From what I recall, it was a Forerunner and then a truck parked in the Swarma parking lot.
He was so
Showing you,
paranoid.
You see Courts Exhibit, just may I approach the witness, Your Honor?
You may.
So paranoid about every move May made,
I'm going to refer you quickly to Courts Exhibit 38. Do you recognize what is in that photograph, in that exhibit?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what is that? It appears to be a screenshot with the name Larry Millete at the top. It has a date of June 27th, 2020. Is that the accurate date?
Yes.
And what are we seeing in that screenshot?
A white truck parked in Swarma parking lot.
Could you identify? Yes, I want to identify the exhibit for the record.
The exhibit up on the screen, Courts Exhibit 38. Do you recognize up on the screen that to be the same exhibit that is in the binder?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and tell us what we're looking at in this photograph.
This is a parking lot at Swarma, and then there's a white truck, white vehicle truck there.
Is, just to be more specific, is what we're looking up on the screen a screenshot?
Yes, it's a screenshot
A screenshot of whose phone?
of Larry.
Is that Larry's phone or your phone?
Oh, my phone.
And so this is a screenshot that you took of messages or photographs Larry sent to you.
Yes,
Why does that day stand out to you?
that because that's the day that that May moved out of our apartment.
Where did May go?
She went back to their house in Paseo Los Gatos.
After the defendant sent you these photographs projected up in the screenshot in Courts Exhibit 38, did you have a conversation with him
Via text, yes.
via text?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
You had mentioned you had a phone conversation.
You're not
with
supposed to
him
say yeah.
at some point that day. Is that right, or was it all via text?
Maybe he called too. I just don't recall.
Did he tell you how he had? Well, you indicated that he said he followed May. Did he say how he followed her?
I believe he told me he left Lara's phone in her trunk,
In her truck?
in the Forerunner.
So he left a phone in her car to track
And
her.
Laura is who?
Larry and May's firstborn.
He said he put Laura's phone in May's vehicle.
Yes.
And you're using your kid's property to do it.
Did you have a conversation either via text or by phone with the defendant about what he did after sending these photographs?
Yes, he said that he was asking me what he's gonna do. Should he approach? And I said, don't make a scene. But he ended up approaching the vehicle and asked a question.
Did he tell you who he saw in the vehicle?
Yes,
Who did he see?
he saw Jamie and May.
Did he tell you what he did? The defendant, I mean, the defendant tell you what he did after
Yeah,
in
he's
the truck?
yes. He asked Jamie, "What are you doing here in this vehicle with my wife?" And then May just looked surprised and she started crying.
Do you recall seeing May?
I'm
and
not
Larry
sure,
that day?
Liz. Good question.
Yes,
Where?
at home and in our apartment.
Tell us what you saw.
They went in our apartment. May is you can tell that she's crying so much because her eyes are swollen, and they just went straight to the room and packed up her stuff and left.
Do you recall what Larry's, the defendant's demeanor was?
No, I mean, he just helped her pick up her stuff.
How long were they in the apartment?
Not long, maybe 10 minutes.
Did you have a conversation with May about the fact that she was moving out?
No, she just ended up, both of them just said, "Thank you guys." And then they left.
Did you have any other conversation with them other than just thank you guys?
That's really sad.
Yeah, that's what I remember. Yeah, no explanation, no nothing. Yeah.
At in June, did you learn that May was leaving Sparmac?
I believe so.
Where did May take a job after leaving Sparmac?
At Naval, yeah, and IWC.
Do you know, if you know, whether or not the defendant's credentials would work to get him on the base at NIWA?
Yes, May told me.
Told you whether or not they did?
She told me that you can't just come in there. You have to be cleared to just go at night wake. Even though you have a CAC card, you can't just come in there.
And that's CAC, CAC?
CAC, yes, Common Access Card.
CAC. I hate the acronyms that so many companies and
Do you
institutions come up with.
recall a
The CAC
conversation
card.
with Larry at some point during the same time frame, May to June, July 2020, about Walmart?
Yes.
What was your recollection of that incident or discussion about Walmart?
Can I think about this?
Uh-oh.
I just remember that she's supposed to buy groceries and then the next day she said that she did not make it to Walmart because she forgot her wallet.
Was this when she was still living with you?
Yes.
And did the defendant send you any text messages concerned about whether or not May actually went to Walmart?
I don't remember. I can remember if I look at my phone.
You don't remember as you sit here right now?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember having any kind of conversation with him, either via text or phone call, about whether or not May had been to Walmart?
Maybe we did.
Okay. You don't remember?
As of now, I don't remember.
Okay, that's okay. In August 2020, did you have a text exchange with the defendant again about about May finding one of the children's phones in her car?
Yes.
If you look at Exhibit 13-3, and Your Honor, may I approach to assist the witness?
Yes.
Liz, about Apple trackers. You know,
Looking at
I don't think Apple makes
13-3,
trackers. I
those
think
appear to be text messages that you exchanged,
apps make
you and
trackers.
the defendant, on August 12th, 2020.
Yes.
And can you sort of summarize what it is that occurred on August 12th, 2020?
Basically, Larry told me that May said that she's going to leave again, and then May sent a screenshot of her message to Larry, and that basically Larry said, "Oh, I put Larry's phone in her car to track her today." So I and then Larry owned up that yes, I did that. So, but I think that really made me upset. So she said that she's gonna leave the marriage.
And so up on the screen, 13-3, you recognize, again, the blue and pink lines to be the content of the text messages from your phone, messages between you and the defendant on August 12th, 2020.
Yes.
So the first two from the defendant are, she left the house again after my meeting with pastor. Did you know who pastor was in reference to?
Yes, it's Pastor Carlos Serrano. I referred Larry to our pastors because they were having marriage problems.
And then you responded with, this is in pink, and this is at 3:47. She left the house again. She doesn't have work. That was your message?
Yes.
Yeah, she's trying to do what a family member tries to do and refer them to get help, elsewhere. And he's like, "Help me track my wife. Help me stalk my wife." Liz, to continue what I was saying, I think it's the apps that make the trackers that go on Apple devices. I don't know of actual Apple trackers. I could be wrong about that.
And then there's another message sent says, make sure you and the pastor talk about our final separation and do not try and talk me. I'm not changing my mind. If you do not want separation, we can divorce, but I am not leaving the house. If you don't want to see me every day, then you leave. Did you believe that to be a message from Larry, from the defendant?
I believe it's a screenshot of May's message to Larry.
And was that something that the defendant would do at times during your text message discussions, screenshot a message from May?
Yes.
Yeah, so May was trying to say, you get out of the house. I shouldn't have to leave, which
And
makes
then you
sense.
said she didn't let you know, she just left. And the defendant responds with 3 text messages. She left because I put Kay, Laura's phone, in her car to track her today. She said, we're done again, calling me Larry. Was there any significance to you that the defendant sent a message saying she's calling me Larry?
Yes, because they call each other Mahal.
Don't
Do you
call
know
me
how to
Larry.
spell Mahal?
Mahal.
Is Mahal a term of endearment?
Yes, means love in Tagalog.
Don't you dare call me by my first name. Don't you dare. But I get it. I understand how that goes
And
in
then
relationships.
your next message, she left because I'm sorry. You respond, looks like she left because I put Kay, Laura's phone, in her car to track her today. How did she find out? Did you tell her? Which words were yours, or which questions were yours in that pink string there at 3:49?
So I copied and pasted because I wanted to respond to the question. I wanted to respond to the text message that's stating she left because I put Kay Lara's phone in her car to track her today. My response: How did she find out? Did you tell her? I wanted to find out if he confessed or
How did she find out about
yes,
the phone?
yes.
And then his response was, it was vibrating. Yes, I owned up. And then that would have been at 3:50 p.m.
So he didn't offer the information. She caught
8:03.
the phone in the car
you
because it was
said,
vibrating.
"Oops, we're downstairs." Why did you say we're downstairs?
I believe this was the time where Larry called JR asking for help because May said that she was gonna um, call the police to put a restraining order. So we went to their house, but that's why we're downstairs.
So this was all the same day that May found the phone in her car.
Yes.
You know, this is also sad.
Did you have a
May saw what
conversation?
was
Well,
coming.
Who did you go to the house with?
I'm with JR and the kids.
You went to Larry and May's house at Paseo Los Gatos.
Yes.
What did you actually speak with May?
No, I didn't get a chance to. We were just staying downstairs. Papa Leo was there too.
Who's Papa Leo?
Larry's dad, Benito Millete.
And where were you having a conversation?
We're in the garage.
Who was in the garage?
Me, JR, and Papa Leo. And sometimes Larry would come and go. So
Do you know whether or not May was home at the time?
I thought she was upstairs at that time. I thought she was just upstairs.
Did you think something later, at a later point?
No, I thought she was just there because I think there was some food that was ordered, but we weren't able to eat. We just went home.
Did you ever see May that
No,
night?
I did not.
What was the conversation with the defendant in the garage, if any?
Well, we were convincing him to let it go. That May doesn't really want to stay, so maybe it's better to just let it go. I mean, it came from me and JR and Papa Leo too. So
And what was the defendant's response to that?
Objection hearsay.
I know, Liz, and that it was his daughter's phone, their daughter's phone.
Statements from the defendant are admissible as admissions of a party, and we've been allowing these evidence since last Wednesday.
What did the defendant say, if anything, in response to the discussion?
I don't remember what he said, but he just looked sad, and he didn't really verbally said, I'm not gonna do it, but he doesn't, it looks like in his face that he doesn't want to give up, and he still want to fight for his marriage.
Hi, Marie.
Did, in the context of the discussions or text messages that you had exchanged with the defendant from May up until this point in August, did he express what he wanted with regard to the marriage?
Yes.
What did the defendant want?
To stay married to May and with the kids.
Did he express things, what he was willing to do to keep his marriage together?
Yes, I mean many ways.
Possess her.
I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how important was it to him to stay together with May?
It is very important. I mean, he said he's willing to change. He's willing to go to counseling, and he even said that, I can also like report them about the affair. So there's many ways.
And the text messages, you've already testified that there were voluminous amounts of text messages. Is that fair to say, from the defendant?
Yes.
And was the content of them similar? The discussion similar when he would send you these messages?
Yeah. Yes.
What was the content? What was the subject matter generally?
That he doesn't want to lose me.
And again, prior to January of 2020, did you and the defendant exchange text messages this often?
No.
Did you exchange text messages at all?
Sometimes about the kids again. If we're gonna take them to SeaWorld or just general, take them to the zoo, or just not like this much.
Did you ever show May some of the text messages that the defendant was sending to you?
Yes, sometimes.
And explain that a little bit. What did you show her?
I don't remember, but sometimes when Larry would text me a lot and I'm walking with her, I would just show it to her. And I said, what do I do with this? And then she was like, you're just getting that now. I'm 20 years of that.
You sort of shrugged your shoulders a little bit
Yikes.
when you testified about. Back up. You said that you would show her the messages, and May's response, just prior to giving us May's response, you sort of shrugged your shoulders. Is that what May actually did when she responded?
Yes.
Witness also held up her left hand to demonstrate how.
I noticed
she
that
held
Genesis
herself up to
has
show
been doing a lot of
Yes,
deep
thank you.
sighs and breathing. You can tell she's
And
nervous. It seems like all
what
the
was
family
it
is
that May
scared of
said
Larry.
when you showed the messages?
She said, I don't know. You're just getting that today. I get it for 20 years.
you had a text
Yeah,
message exchange
that's
with
true.
the defendant in September, where he actually mentioned spellcasters.
Yes.
Looking at 13-4.
Spellcasters. Hello,
In the
tattooed.
exhibit book, looking up on the screen, you recognize what's up on the screen to be copies of this text message exchange that you had with the defendant September 15th, 2020.
So there's Larry and his lawyers,
Yes.
in case you don't know.
And again, in blue would be messages sent by the defendant, correct?
Yes.
So the first three, defendant says, it's real. We are all God's creation, even spellcasters. Just trying to justify it. I'm really desperate. These are messages from the defendant.
Just trying to justify it. I wonder if it's Genesis phone where that screenshot came from, where we can see the altar laid out. And I think he did several
And then
spells, love spell and a
Defendant
violent
says,
spell.
After I'm really desperate. For real though, no lie. I've been thinking about apprenticing under a spellcaster if I can find a good one since Friday. Only the white magic, no black or voodoo. Those were statements the defendant made in the text messages to you on September 15th, 2020.
Yes.
Only the white magic. White magic that can control her. I can use supernatural
And then what did you
voodoo.
respond then? Pink?
I said, what do you mean, like become a spellcaster?
And his response was, I just want to know and be good at a couple of spells that I can maybe perform on my own. That was the message that he sent to you on September 15th.
Yes.
So he wanted to do them himself, not just have a
Did you have
spellcaster do
other
it.
conversations with the defendant about his reaching out to spellcasters, either by phone or via text?
Yeah, but in person too.
What was your understanding of what he was doing based on those conversations?
I just warned him that, that's evil spirit and you shouldn't be messing with that. He was just wanting so bad to be with me and fix their marriage problems.
I'm pretty sure the family's Catholic, and that's a big no-no in the Catholic religion, is to rely on, evil
Looking at
spirits or
13-5,
non-Christian entities,
these are additional conversation. Was this sort of along the same lines of his contacting spellcasters?
Yes.
So now it's September 16th. He says, I'm just really desperate, Jen. You know that. Do you happen to know what those 4 question marks are? What was there?
They're emojis.
It's probably an emoji. I forgot what it is.
And then you said, I completely understand. What was your, what were you trying to do during these text messages, during these exchanges with the defendant?
Buffering.
Reach out to you?
We found out their marriage problem beginning of January 2020. So it was my intent to help and support both of them. I even referred them to counseling in our pastor at church. So him doing this, I didn't think that he would go, I just wanted to, I understand that he's desperate to be with me. So I didn't think that he's gonna be too serious about that. So doing the spellcaster.
And in fact, he says, I'm just hoping no negative energy comes back and makes it worse. And then you message back, No comment. I'm too scared to even imagine. You know, I'm a scaredy cat. That's why I only watch them on TV. We're kind of trying to just make light.
Take threats seriously, people, even when they're jokes.
I was just trying to tell him there's gonna be, karma. There's gonna be bad consequences if you continue to do these things.
And then he says, yes, I was hesitant, but if it can help, I'm willing to sell my soul. Maybe I shouldn't say that. And those were messages. that the defendant sent
Ooh, I'm
you
willing to
on
sell my
September 16th.
soul.
Yes.
You mentioned that there were times that the defendant talked to you about reporting May to her command. Do you recall that?
Yes. I just don't remember the date.
Looking at 13-6, do you recognize this text message exchange with the defendant?
Yes.
And can you kind of summarize what this text exchange was referring to?
He's basically, Larry was saying that if May is not willing to fix the marriage, he would report them, so so May can lose her job and he can get 100% custody of the kids.
So
If I can't have her, I'm gonna ruin her.
I told her that I would report them this AM if she doesn't want to move forward to fix our marriage, and if she continues to plan on separating. She became angry, and then you respond, oh man, why you said that? And he says, I told her my intent is for her to lose her job, and there's 4 question marks, custody of the kids. Do you recall what the emoji or?
I believe it's 100%. So it would mean I get 100% custody of the kids.
And then you said you don't mean it. Why did you say that?
Well, because his main goal is to get back, fix their marriage, and have a complete family. So that it doesn't look like that's the goal.
And you said and then the defendant texts back, she loves her job. I'm tired of being her doormat. Those were messages sent and exchanged between the two of you September 23rd, 2020.
She loves her job,
Yes.
so I'm gonna ruin.
And then looking at 13-7,
Her.
are those kind of continued discussion about, again, the same, the state of their marriage and the defendant's thoughts on how to handle the problems between the two of them?
Yes.
Projecting up on the screen 13-7, is that the same exhibit that's in the binder?
Yes.
And the defendant starts with, she needs to be humbled. And then your response is, but I thought you want to keep the family together. If you report, then you only keep the kids, no more May. How are you going to live without May? Again, in hate, those are your responses.
Yes.
And then the defendant texts back, I do, but I don't want to share custody. Going to figure it out. 50-50, I just want the kids. And you say true. And then the defendant says, I'd miss them too much and don't want another man around them. Those were text messages exchanged on September 23rd, 2020.
Yes.
So let's not do what's best for the kids. Let's
Did
not.
the defendant ever talk to you?
Let's
or tell
take
you
the woman
about
out of her
using
job.
Subliminal messages. Subliminal messages.
He did.
When was that, if you recall?
I remember there was a text message from him that he was saying that May is mad, is angry again or upset, and I said, "What did you do?" And that's when he said that May found the subliminals.
Looking at 13-8 in the binder, Is that the text message exchange?
The
that you're referring
subliminals.
to?
Yes,
And that's dated December 18th, 2020.
yes,
Checking that up on the screen. 13-8 up on the screen, is that the same exhibit that's in the binder?
yes.
Okay. And so it starts with the defendant, this is really stressful. She took off her ring again. Your response, marriage is stressful. What did you do? And then you say, sorry about the question. Why did you say sorry about the question?
I'm not confrontation. I don't like, I don't know. I just feel bad asking that, I guess.
Asking what did you do?
Yes.
Why did you ask what did you do?
Well, I want to know why, what's going on again. Because when May went back to their house, we really don't text much anymore. And then now it's December, so something happened again. Just want to know what happened. I thought they were okay.
When you say we didn't text much anymore, who's we?
Neri and I.
You're saying they decreased after she went back to the house?
Yes.
They still continued, right?
It continued, but it's not as much.
And
So
so
it
after
has-
you said, sorry about the question, defendant texted, she found the subliminals and said, I'm trying to cage her in an invisible cage. And you respond, maybe you said something.
She was
that
right.
got her upset. Defendant responds, plus I always ask her to include me and the kids in everything. She said she feels choked. I'm just tired all the time, feeling irregular heartbeat, upset stomach, and anxiety all the time. These are the text message exchanged on December 18th, 2020.
Exactly, B Castle.
Yes.
Did you have any further conversation with the defendant about subliminals?
I don't remember if he called me or I called him because I don't know what subliminals, and that's when he explained to me what it is on that day.
And what did he explain them to be?
He said that it's some sort of white noise that you can order, and you can record hidden messages. For example, like I love you, love me, or something like that. And it would be in a form of white noise.
You will stay with Larry. You will
Did you
stay
ever have a
with
conversation with
Larry.
May about what occurred in December?
No, I think I just texted her and just to see if she's okay. I don't remember if I texted her or if Micah texted her.
Or who texted her?
Oh, I probably texted her and asked if she's doing okay. She said it's okay.
Did you say Micah just for the court reporter? Had you said earlier? I think Micah texted her.
Yeah, I think I said Micah texted her, but no, I think I'm the one that texted to see if she's okay.
All this to say that
Did
if
you go to Glamis over New Year's 2000?
somebody's willing to do all these things
Going on to a new topic.
to control somebody.
We're going to take a break.
Oh, okay. We're taking a break.
First, I'll just note that the last sidebar, actually, I'll address that when we come back at 10:45. Reveal what we talked about at the sidebar. For the most part. All right, we're
This is a very likable judge. Hi, Diana. Welcome. That judge is very likable. Okay, turn off the mic, people.
Yeah.
All right. So that was interesting. I didn't know. Maybe the subliminals are part of the spell casting that he was getting into. He says, he was going to apprentice with a spellcaster, and then he's talking about subliminals. I don't know if anybody is aware of how this craft works, but I guess, and then Genesis is talking about Genesis is talking about white noise that has subliminals, and you can buy it, and you could put messages in it like, you will stay with Larry, you will stay with Larry. But I agree with Amelia here. This desperate line of thinking is so dangerous. Desperate with weapons is doubly dangerous. So yeah, I mean, anybody who's watching this, I hope that you're catching a pattern here. And it's not just with Larry Millete, it's with, domestic abusers who sometimes end up, killing their spouses, is they try every form of control. And there are just things you can't control. You can't control whether someone has someone's feelings. You can't control someone's everyday movements. You can't cage people, and if they start to feel caged and stalked, and like you're trying to get inside of their very head and their skin, they're going to want to escape, understandably. But that is like the worst possible thing for someone like Larry, who is being clingy and needy. And rather than finding ways to not want to control another human being, he's trying more ways to control another human being. And he even said in one of those text messages, I'm willing to sell my soul. And, when you say something, maybe it's just a pass off line, a throw out line. But when you see this pattern of behavior and you hear somebody saying, I'm willing to sell my soul, what does selling your soul mean? It's a common expression, but what does that actually mean when somebody says, I'm willing to sell my soul? Well, that means your soul's you're willing to do anything up to and including murder, right? I mean, doesn't that make sense? So I was trying to say earlier during some of this testimony, like, pay attention to these signs, pay attention to threats, even when they're made in jest and made in passing. When someone makes a threat that is couched in a joke, they're choosing to say that for some reason that may not have to do with a joke. They're allowing that threat to slip out of their brain and through their mouth cavity out into the atmosphere. They're choosing to do that because they want a message to drop on you, but then they don't want to, if it gets too serious, they don't want to take responsibility for it. Oh, I was just joking. No, you take that seriously. Take threats seriously, even if they're couched in a joke, I pulled up the interview that Billy Little did right after he did his tour of the house that day. And what you'll hear is the guy who's interviewing him is the guy who you could hear in court earlier saying, hello, judge, you guys did a sidebar and, it's not on the records. So thank you, reporter, for doing your job and keeping the public informed. But I'm going to pull this up. So you can hear what he said about what he saw in the home when he went.
My name is Billy Little. My physician in the family has asked me to assist. I'm an attorney and an investigator. The family has asked me to help locate the daughter, missing Maya Millete. The family approached me when Maya went missing and nobody had heard from her. She went missing on the 7th. The family contacted me, I believe, on the 9th, after she had been gone a day and a half or so, asked me if I could assist in finding May, or Maya. I'll just call her May.
Can you tell me how you ended up doing a walkthrough of the house? When did you do it, and why did you do it?
So it was the 11th of January of 2021. I went over there. I'm not sure if Larry, the husband, was going to open the door, was going to talk to me. I just went up, knocked on the door, told him who I was. He invited me in the house. I went in the house. I immediately noticed the windows all open, the fans on full blast. It was chilly in the house. I told him I was there looking for May. And he invited me in, and I had a discussion with him. We walked through the house, went up to the bedroom where she had been locking herself in for the past several days to ostensibly get away from Larry. When I went to the bedroom, I immediately noticed a hole probably 10 inches long by about 6 to 8 inches tall, rectangular shape that had been freshly repaired. It was right by the handle. There was a lock on the inside of the door. I touched the repair material and noticed that it was still damp. I said, "Hey, Larry, this is still wet. This looked like..."
This is one of the reasons I'm showing this is, this interview is from April. She went missing in January of 2021. This investigator went days afterward, like within a week afterward, into the home. And then this interview is from April. And immediately when he went in the home, he saw that patched hole by the door handle that was freshly patched. Again, yeah, I agree, Lester. And yes, B Castle, that's what I'm trying to do from my YouTube channel, is mind control you into understanding abusers. Understanding how the internet abuses us. Sorry, I'm being silly. And I agree. It is unbelievable what this woman endured. I mean, and she kept things private. She's not one of those people that went complaining to her family about all of this stuff. She was a private person. So she wasn't bitching and moaning. Maybe she went to her friends or something, but let's keep listening to Billy Little.
"You freshly repaired this door." And he said, "Oh no, that was a hole that May had punched in the door." So, and I knew that that was untrue from other stories that I'd gotten about how the holes in the house had come to be.
The hole was on the outside of the door, right?
Well, it went through the door, went through both sides of the door. So in other words, and this is just, let's say the door is locked, you wanted to break in the door, or get to the door, you could punch through that hole, reach through the other side, and unlock the door from the other side. The location of it was maybe 3.5 feet, the height of the doorknob. So it's not the position that a person, if you're just angry and punching a wall, it's not the position that the hole would be in. Now, I did see another hole in the bedroom wall that was consistent with maybe a shoulder level punching hole.
Was that one still wet as well?
That one was not wet. That one had dried, but it appeared to be the same repair material. Some type of putty or stucco material.
When you walked in the house and all the windows were open and the fan was on, or fans, I'm not sure if there's more than one. Did you ask Larry about it?
No, I knew that that was going to be the case because of the people that I talked to before I went to the house.
Lester, as soon as I saw that, the way I heard this comment in my head was, I bet he shit through that door. And I had this immediate picture of him shit, and I'm like, wow, that's quite a picture. And then you said shot. And that's what I think. I think he shot through the door. And that's what she was running from, or
house. They told me that the house had been open with all the windows on, and that Larry had told them that the air conditioner was broken, and that's why he was doing it. So
Okay.
I didn't ask him when I went in there. I already expected that to be the condition of the house. I was mostly at that point seeing if I could smell anything, if I could smell any bleach or smell the smell of a dead body. And of course, there's absolutely no smell. I mean, the air movement was such that you couldn't smell anything in that house.
How did you know that there was a freezer missing when you did that walkthrough?
Again,
now this is one of the reasons I wanted to watch this again, is because this is where we kind of first started hearing about the freezer. It was after this that there was a search warrant conducted on his aunt and uncle's house. Yeah, and Lester, there's a picture of all his guns and ammo spread out, and his 4-year-old son standing in the middle of it. I can't get over that too. So anyway, so he's going to start talking about this small refrigerator that is in question.
I've been informed by other witnesses that I spoke to that there was an allegation that there was a freezer that had been taken out of the garage. And that turned out to be true. I confirmed that both at the house and when I found the freezer from the person who had taken the freezer.
Okay, so you went in. One of your goals was to look for the freezer. Tell me how that went.
Well, my real goal in going in the house, my primary goal was to start to establish a relationship with Larry, so that I would have an open line of communication with him, so that I could go back and back, and this would not be a one-time shot. I had some other information that I knew about the house and about Larry that I tested while I was in there having a conversation with him. One piece of information that I knew going in was that he had asked someone to borrow gun cleaning equipment to clean his guns on that weekend. So that seemed odd to me. When your wife is missing, you want to start cleaning your guns. So I tested that with Larry. He confirmed that with me, that he had in fact asked somebody to borrow gun cleaning equipment. I then discussed with him about gunshot residue on his hands. He said, "Oh yeah, I've been out shooting the last few days." So I wanted to test that. Wanted to see about the freezer. So as I do a walkthrough, I just wanted to look for things that I knew or expected to be. I looked in the room quite extensively, looking to see if I could see anything that had been obviously cleaned up or repaired, like the holes in the walls. But it was mostly conversational with Larry. Again, establishing a relationship with the belief that I would have another opportunity to talk to him, which I did not.
Why did you not?
The Chula Vista Police Department asked me not to talk to him anymore. So I didn't want to interfere with their investigation. So I didn't at that point.
See, that's what a respectful investigator does. The Chula Vista Police Department said, please don't talk to our suspect or this person of interest anymore, investigator. An investigator said, okay, I'm going to let you do your job. I won't talk to this person of interest anymore. That's how it's supposed to work. You're supposed to work with law enforcement, not against law enforcement. You're supposed to work as a team, not like be backbiting each other about what a terrible job you're doing for the sake of content. So anyway, I found that interesting. I feel like he ruled that house with an iron fist, and she wasn't having it too bad. She just didn't leave as he seems to become unstable. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see what else he says.
Point, I assumed that they were moving forward aggressively with this case. And again, it's not my goal to interfere with somebody's investigation. So if they have a plan, they didn't share their plan with me. If they had an interrogation plan or an investigation plan, they didn't share any of that information with me. I just deferred to their judgment at that point.
Can you tell me, okay, where did you go to look for the freezer? Where was it supposed to be, and what did you discover when you were in the house?
So the garage had been cleaned. Again, didn't notice the smell of bleach, but the garage had clearly been cleaned. Things, I hadn't seen the garage before, but it was pretty spotless in there. And the freezer that the people told me should have been there was not there. And the people that told me that the freezer had been missing, it was, the freezer wasn't there. So.
See, this is what I'm confused about, is that he's very specifically talking about how this freezer was supposed to be in the garage and it wasn't there. But other people are talking about how it was a freezer in the, kitchen, a part of the kitchen that wasn't there. And usually freezers like that are in a garage rather than in the same room, in a kitchen. And if I recall images from that kitchen area, it's a large house, it's a big house, but it's not so massive that it can stand to have both a refrigerator and a freezer. So I'm still inclined to believe that it was had been in the garage. And this investigator is talking about how he sees that the garage had just recently been made spotless, and then this freezer was missing. Wonder if she was injured gravely, potential shot through the door, and then brought to the garage and he killed her there. I don't, I feel like I somehow don't feel like this is an accident, but who knows? Obviously, we don't know. Keep hoping things will somehow get better. Exactly. Because, you have to remember that when people are in a relationship with each other and it becomes abusive, there's a reason they were together in the first place. It didn't start out abusive. It didn't start out being horrible. That's how all relationships kind of devolve. It always starts out like everybody's on their best behavior, and then you get on to a year or two and you start seeing the warts and things like that, and but you still want to have that loving feeling that you did in the past. And abuse doesn't like come on immediately. It's not like, hello, I love you, and then abuse. It comes on gradually. So it's not like a noticeable difference, right? So there's this desire to want to get back to that feeling of where it was before. And, the Hollywood movies are always telling us, yes, you can get back to that loving, wonderful place. We get fed such a line of bullshit from cultural media. And also our family values. You got to stay together. You got to stay together for the kids. But abuse is abuse, right? And so what I feel like we need to do as a culture is help people understand what abuse looks like, what crossing that line looks like, what should not be tolerated anymore. And, and not blame a person who's been in love with somebody, and then that somebody starts to become abusive. Blame the person who stays in the relationship. Blame the abuser, not the person who stays in the relationship. I mean, because they're trying their best to get back to that loving feeling. I mean, we just said we have a lot of wrong ideas we need to work out in our culture. yeah, it was 8 shots, and I played it on a video on my other channel, my true crime channel. Also, she had her entire family, however, lovingly pressuring her. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They don't know a lot of times the families don't know. They aren't inside the marriage. They don't know how bad it can be. And and Maya was private, and she wasn't revealing all of the drama to her family. And most families have these family values, especially if you're a Catholic family, if your family is culturally inclined to want to stay together. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but also the family starts to apply that pressure to the spouse that wants to leave, and not recognizing how difficult it might be for the person who's being abused. And I just think we, as a culture, our ideas are so unclear and so foggy about what emotional abuse looks like, what abuse is, that if we are being abused and we go to our family members and say, this person did this and this and this, and I'm being abused, and they go, that's not abuse, then you start to second guess yourself. Oh, maybe I'm not being abused, maybe I'm not. It's just so complicated, and we just need a much clearer understanding as a culture. And I've had family members who will not ever want to say bad things in the distant past, not currently, but who they don't want to say, and I understand this, they don't want to say that that they don't want to say bad things to their family about their spouse, because that spouse is also part of the family. And then if the family turns on the spouse, then you start getting pressured to leave that person, or now you've put a bad bug in the ear of your family about your spouse. And what if you change your feelings about your spouse? Oh, it's a mess. It's a mess. My partner was shunned for divorcing his wife, becoming involved with me, although they have been, I mean, I like to stay away from making this about, cultural issues, about specific, like geographical or ethnic cultures. This kind of attitude exists in every single culture. You know what I mean? I'm not denying that particular cultures have those stronger cultural attitudes, but it just puts us in this zone of being like, oh, you're from that place, then you must be that way. You look like that, then you must be that way. I don't like that kind of labeling. I just want to keep it to, we see this pattern where in their, at least their family dynamic, they are culturally inclined to stay together. Their family wants to stay them together. Maybe they're spiritually or religiously inclined to want to stay together. There's lots of reasons. It doesn't always have to do with just their, ethnicity. But anyway, let's see what else Mr. Little has to say.
At that point, there's no reason to talk to Larry about it. He's just going to, I assume he's going to lie to me like he did on some other things. So I just tracked down the freezer myself. I left when I found the location of the freezer. Actually, before I found the location of the freezer, I called Chula Vista Police and I said, hey, there's a freezer missing from the garage. They said, okay, thanks. At that point, they were still accepting information from me. Then there was no action, so I found the freezer myself. I went over and found it from one of Larry's relatives, went to his house, interviewed him, inspected the freezer, and have a photo of the freezer, which I provided to you.
What's his side of the story and how he got the?
So there's the freezer. That looks like it's in a house, not a garage. I don't know, but it's a upright freezer. Okay.
freezer?
He said that he had been planning on taking that freezer for a long time. So that was just coincidence that it happened within 24 hours.
Looks like they're back in court, or there's at least camera movement, so I'm going to put it back on the court feed. Okay, it's on the logo feed. We got logo feed. Good on your daughter, B Castle. Good on your daughter. So Liz, I think you're trying to understand how what's the procedure of this hearing, right? What's the process of the hearing? So I'm not a lawyer, but based on my observation of these cases with these pre-trial hearings, and preliminary hearings, it's a mini trial, but there's no jury, and they're just trying to show by preponderance of the evidence that it's more likely than not that he committed this crime, to determine whether they're going to go to trial. So the prosecutor is going to present enough evidence and witnesses to make their case that this should go to trial. And the defense is going to put on their case and witnesses to say why it shouldn't go to trial. So it'll be like it's kind of run like a trial, like a regular trial, but there's no jury, and it's
All right, back on the record, counsel. I'm the defendant are present. The witness is on the stand. I'm going to address the media question.
all right. The media question.
Lunch. I think it's important that I not stop the proceedings. And I would rather get the witnesses through their testimony. Right, so you make
The judge runs the show, Liz. The prosecutor is putting on
Alonzo, we left off
their case.
with talking about
The judge runs the show.
2021 and a trip to Glamis that you took with your husband and your children. Do you recall that?
Yes.
And just for the record, behind you is an exhibit. It is, Your Honor, may I approach? I just want to make
You
sure
may.
I'm referring to the right number.
The judge runs the show, but
And
it's
this is Court's Exhibit
on the
46,
prosecutor
which,
to
just for the record, was previously
prove their case that
stipulated
should go to
it is
trial.
an accurate reflection of January 2021, the calendar, and I want to identify it for the record that it is a blown up version of the calendar for January 2021, and that Court's Exhibit 45 is a blown up version on a board of the calendar month of December 2020, which was also stipulated to previously. I just wanted to make sure that was clear for the record. When did you and your family, Alonzo, go to Glamis for New Year's?
I believe we went January 1st.
I'll be right back.
How long were you there?
Just the whole day.
Did you spend the night?
No, I think we went home. I believe we went home.
So you actually went home before New Year's Eve, or you were just there for New Year's Day?
We were there for New Year's Day.
You didn't stay at a hotel in Raleigh?
Oh, yes, we did. I forgot.
Do you remember if you stayed one or more nights?
Maybe 2 nights.
What did you do in the desert?
I went jeeping with May. We went to the Glamis store. I just hang out around the trailer. Yeah.
Who was there?
Our family, the Tabalanza family.
When you refer to the Tabalanza family, who are you referring to?
All of us, all of JR's siblings and their spouse and their kids.
Did you get to spend some time alone with May that weekend or over those couple of days?
With May and the kids in the Jeep.
Where did you go with May and the kids in the Jeep?
We went to the Glammy store. We purchased sweaters.
How did May feel about her Jeep?
She's upset that she couldn't use it.
Did she enjoy driving her Jeep?
With us, yes.
And in
Yes.
general, I mean, since she got the Jeep, was it something she was excited about?
Oh yeah, she said that's her dream car. Yes.
Did you
No.
see the defendant driving the Jeep?
It's her
Yes.
dream
That time
car.
lens? And what did you observe with regard to the defendant driving the Jeep?
He was having fun too.
Did May have an opportunity to go take the Jeep out in the dunes?
Yes, with us in the afternoon.
Did you have an opportunity to have a conversation with May where she opened up about her marriage?
Yes, in the Jeep.
Where were the children?
They were in the Jeep too.
Do you know if the children were in earshot to, or if they were having their own conversation, or were they listening to the conversation that you and May were having?
I think they're having their own conversation.
And what was your conversation with May with regard to her marriage?
May said that Larry was asking for affection and that it's just hard for her to give it to him. That's what I recall.
Anything else?
And I was asking her, I thought you guys are okay now. And then she said, why did you think that? Because something like in that conversation.
Anything else in that conversation that stands out to you?
In the Jeep?
Yes.
No, but we had a conversation in the trailer too. So
Who was in the trailer?
it was me and her and then Ate Chris, Mary Chris. She's going back and forth, in and out of the trailer. So
Who was going in and out of the trailer?
Ate Mary Chris.
When you're saying Ate, is that spelled A-T-E?
Yes, sorry. That was like a respectful way of calling your elder sister.
Who else was in the trailer with you and May when Mari Chris was going in and out? If you recall.
Well, there was a time where Lazarus came in to ask for water, so he was there too.
During that time in the trailer, did you have some more conversation with May about?
I really like that name,
Yes.
Lazarus.
What was that conversation?
She was telling me that to stop. She told me stop answering Larry's call because anything that you say to him is going to be used against me. This is it. I'm going to file for divorce. And if something happens to me, it would be Larry.
Did you respond to
If something happens to me,
those
it will be
statements that
Larry.
they made to you in the trailer?
Yes.
What did you say?
I said, well, hold on, let me just think what I said. Don't remember.
Do you recall, did she tell you why she was going to file for divorce?
No, she was just saying that she wants to do it after Lara's birthday, and that she just wanted to be quiet, enjoy Lara's birthday before she files for divorce.
When was Lara's birthday?
January then,
When was this conversation?
January 1st.
Was this conversation before or after you had the conversation in the Jeep? If you remember.
Well, it was in the afternoon already, about between 2 to 5 of January 1st. Yeah,
The conversation in the trailer?
in the trailer, yes.
And was it earlier in the day that you had gone to the store?
Yes.
And Larry's probably saying, I needed to be in that conversation. I should have known about that conversation. You should have.
When did you
Backed
leave
me up.
Glamis, if you remember?
January 1st at night.
Do you think you were there a couple of days before January 1st, or do you remember exactly?
I remember working first and then, oh, maybe that's Thanksgiving.
Did you go to Glamis for Thanksgiving as well?
Yes,
The family?
yes,
Do you recall this conversation being on the 1st?
yes.
And then do you know when you came back to San Diego?
I know we came home the same day, the night of January 1st. Wait, no, maybe we went to Broly. I think we still stayed in Broly and then went home the next day.
So January 1st or 2nd is when you came back to San Diego.
Yes,
After you got back to San Diego, did you have any further conversations with May?
no,
Did you go back to work?
I did.
When you would be at work, did you sometimes communicate with May?
Yes,
How would you communicate with May?
via MS Teams.
Was that sometimes about work?
Yes,
Sometimes maybe a little bit of personal?
yes.
And do you recall whether or not that week you had any conversations over MS Teams with May?
No,
Do you know if at that time she was teleworking or if she was working in an office?
she's teleworking.
When was the next time that you saw May?
I agree, Lester.
I didn't see her again. Last time I saw her was January 1st.
Sometime around January, on January 8th, did you, well, let me ask you this. Were you invited to a trip up to Big Bear that weekend of January 8th, 9th, 10th?
Yes.
And were you and JR going to go to that trip?
Well, I think we already had made plans, so we were not planning to come.
Did January 8th, did you learn that there was some concern about where May was?
Yes.
How did you learn that? Tell us about what kind of happened that caused you to learn that there was some concerns about May.
Well, because they were asking the logistics of, what's gonna happen for that weekend, and it's all the family would message each other, so and each of us would respond. Usually, May would respond, "Hey, this is what's gonna happen," or this, I'm already made it here, but then no one heard from her. So JR went to the house.
Oh, hold on. Next question.
Did you learn at some point that JR went to the house that night?
Yes.
Did you go with him?
No.
Did you work on January 8th?
Yes.
Did you have any communication with May on January the 8th at work?
No.
Did you see any evidence at work? In other words, by email or any email exchanges, any indication that May was at work that day?
No.
Did you at some point that weekend go to the house of Sale Los Gatos?
Yes, I went with JR on Saturday. Saturday.
That would be January
9, January 9.
Do you recall what time?
In the afternoon, because we had made plans for the day. So after we're done doing errands for that day, we went maybe about 3 or 4 o'clock
What was the purpose of you going to the house?
to check in if May is back.
What happened when you got to the house?
She's not there.
Did you have any conversation with the defendant when you were at the house?
Yes.
Did you ask him where May was?
Yes.
Was he able to tell you?
No.
Do you recall what he said?
No, I don't. We were just wondering where she's at. So he said something, maybe she went hiking or
Did he tell you when was the last time he saw her?
I did not ask that specific question.
What was his demeanor like, the defendant, on Saturday, January 9th?
He was calm.
Given your conversations via text, phone call throughout the year leading up to that time.
Yeah, see
was
that
his
furrowed
demeanor
brow?
different to you than it had been?
Look
in
at that
the phone
furrowed
calls,
brow
for
and the
example, in
glare.
December, when he called you about May finding the subliminals.
Yes, it was different this time.
How so?
He usually panics when he doesn't know where May is. But this time he was just calm, just quiet.
He looks like he's feeling betrayed by his family. I can't believe you're saying these things about me.
Did you continue to have conversation or communication with the defendant after January 9th?
Yes.
How constant or how often would you have communication with the defendant?
I would check in, to see if how is he or the kids or if May's back. Or I was gonna ask him, do you have an idea where she would probably go? Or, we're having a prayer vigil, are you coming? Things like that. And
Go ahead. Did you finish your answer?
yeah, well, Lara's birthday was January 10th, so I was asking her if I can take them to church or something.
Did you take them to church on
Yeah.
January 10th?
Yes.
And then you mentioned that you would sometimes ask, did he have any idea where she could have gone? Did he ever give you any indication of any, was he ever able to help you find out where she could be?
No.
Did you attend some searches for May?
I did.
Did you attend any vigils for May?
I did.
Did the defendant attend any of those searches?
No.
Did he attend any of those vigils?
Not that I know of, no.
Prior to January 7th, 2021, did your children have fairly regular contact or communication with May's children?
Yes.
And did that change after January 7th, 2021?
Maybe more like after
Definitely,
end of
Amelia.
January.
Would you say gradually was there, well, would you try to see if you could get the children together?
Yes.
Did you ask the defendant about that?
Yes.
And was he receptive to that?
Yes, he is.
So he wanted to see the children get together?
Yes. Yes. He would say, yeah, just, you're welcome at the house. Just bring them over.
Did that change?
Eventually it changed.
And when did it change?
I don't remember. Maybe
Approximately?
February, March, around that time.
And how did it change?
When we will invite them over I invite them to continuously go to church because this is just really traumatic event for us. So I'm thinking that maybe going to church would be helpful, especially for the kids.
Makes sense.
And then when there's a birthday party, Micah's birthday was during February. I invited them to, but they did not attend. So
Did the defendant ever express any concerns about your daughter Micah being around his children?
I just heard a story. I don't know if it's true. So
So nothing firsthand from the defendant? No?
no, sorry.
In February,
No,
did
yeah, or
the defendant make a comment to you that caused you some concern?
Yes.
What was that?
I had a phone call with him one evening where he said that, Jen, I really trust you. And then just don't do anything stupid. So I don't know what that means. So
Who said don't do anything stupid?
Larry,
Was that in a phone call or in a text?
in a phone call.
What does that mean? Now he's starting to control them.
How did you take that?
Just bothered by it.
Why were you bothered by that?
Because all this time, all I wanted to do, my intent is to help them with their problem and just, mend their relationship. And then that was, I'm trying to support. And then when I was told that, I trust you and don't do anything stupid, like, why would I do something stupid? So I was just worried about that.
And when was that statement made by the defendant?
I don't remember. It was sometime in February.
February of 2021.
February 2021, yes.
That week that prior to January 7th, or leading up to January 7th, 2021, do you recall having any kind of conversations with May at work about a coworker's funeral?
Yes.
And when was that funeral supposed to take place?
I think I believe it's end of January or after January.
Hey, Shiv.
And in your messages, was that conversation with May over MS Teams?
Yeah, MS Teams. I believe it's during December that we heard that someone got COVID and he died, and we really worked well with that person. We wanted to attend his funeral.
And in your messages with May, did she express any intent with regard to that funeral?
Yeah, she has plans to go, and she's inviting us if we have time to go with her.
And that was scheduled for the end of January 2021?
Yes, I believe so.
More confirmed
Prior
plans
to
that
January
Maya
7th,
had.
2021, how often would you say you would communicate with May, either by MS Teams, text message, Facebook Messenger, or phone call?
It just text and MS Teams.
How often would you say? Would you say you heard from her or communicated with her at least once a day, every other day, once a week?
Maybe twice a week.
And since January 7th, 2021, have you seen your sister-in-law, your friend May?
No, I have not seen May.
Have you heard from her or had any communication from her since January 7th, 2021?
No.
Thank you. I have no other questions, Your Honor.
Cross-examination.
Good morning, Mr. Valenza.
Morning.
Ouch. And I had to correct my banner. Sorry about that, Liz. It's Maya's brother's wife. And I said sister before. Sorry about that.
You and May Millete actually met before you married your husband, JR. Is that right?
Yes.
And where you met May Millete is through your mother,
Yes.
who actually was working for Mrs. Millete at that time.
No, they're coworkers.
They were working both at Suxwarmac?
No,
Where were they working?
I don't know.
Relevance?
Overruled. You opened the door on me, right? You can answer.
You
I
open.
don't remember the name of the firm, but they work in a company. They're coworkers.
Okay. And you became friends with Miss Millete because your mother introduced her to you and you went out together.
Yes.
So that would be in what year?
About 2004.
And since then, after your meeting with her and going out with her, you became close friends. Would you say in 2004?
Well, you just don't become close that fast. I mean, we develop eventually we develop a strong friendship together, and I look up to her as my big sister.
And you were looking towards her to be your mentor?
Yes, we can say that, yes.
So that your friendship became closer and closer, that Miss Millete was the one who referred you to work at Swarmac?
Yes, I mean, I got qualified for the job.
Was she the one that referred you there?
She gave my resume, yes.
At that time that you applied, did the employer know you were related to Miss Millete?
Objection relevance.
Sustained.
Relevance. What the
I
hell?
don't know.
I do not care.
You don't have to answer that.
So you became co-workers, correct? Miss Millete and you became co-workers eventually, or can you explain after you were hired at Swarmac, what was your relationship with Miss Millete?
We both work in contracts, but not on the same team, different teams. I don't directly work with her. And she was my sister-in-law when I got the job.
She never was your supervisor?
No,
Who was your supervisor at Swarmac? Was it the same as her supervisor?
no.
When you say you work in a different department, do you mean you are working in a different building as well?
Yes.
And you were not familiar with the rules and regulations of the building that Miss Millete was working in, right?
Objection relevance.
What is the relevance?
Your Honor, there's allegations that Mr. Millete was going to Miss Millete's workplace and knocking on the door or looking in the mirror and.
I don't think that's come into evidence,
Okay.
but I'll overrule the objection. You can answer.
Can you please repeat the question?
You do not know the rules and regulations of the Swarmac building where Miss Millete was working because your building was separate from her.
We have the same security training that we attend on the day that we got the job. So there's a orientation for that.
Is it prohibited for Mr. Millete to go to Miss Millete's workplace?
He's not prohibited, but there's security codes in the door, which he's not allowed to know what's the code.
So that if Mr. Millete would go to Miss Millete's workplace, he would have to contact someone in the building in order to let him in.
Yes, or knock on the door.
So there is a.
And I want to make sure we're speaking about which location are you talking about?
Swarmac.
Okay, so at Swarmac, these are rules.
The rules is that if you're not a contracting professional, you're not allowed to be in. But if there's a consent and the person knows you can come in.
Okay. Now, eventually, after you married Mr. Tabalanza, you resided with Mr. and Mrs. Millete, correct?
Yes.
In what location?
In Paseo Los Gatos, San Diego.
Okay.
Out to the Vista.
So they had purchased their house already in Paseo Los Gatos.
Yes.
In what year was that?
I don't know where they bought the house.
It's okay.
But I moved in 2016.
And your husband did not move in with you?
He did.
Okay. Now, isn't it true that you had, it's your belief that Mr. Millete had a perfect marriage? They
That's
were residing there.
Perfect.
Objection relevance.
Overall. Yes.
In my opinion, they have a good marriage.
And at one time, you stated that you believe it was a perfect marriage.
Yes.
Can you explain why you thought it was that?
Because it doesn't seem that they fight. It seems that it's just quiet. That's about it. How happy. They look happy.
Because Maya didn't
Did
tell.
they do things together?
Yes.
That would have been 2016, correct?
Yes.
Did Mr. Milete's parents reside with them at the time?
Yes.
Okay, so there was no, when you say perfect marriage, there was no fighting, there was no, did you notice any damages to the wall or anything like that?
Objection compound, Vegas time.
Sustained.
Well, let me break it down, okay? So you stayed with Mr. and Mrs. Millete for what, 3 months?
Yes, about.
And you lived with them, you ate with them, and did activities together.
Yes.
Did you go shopping with Miss Millete together?
Yes.
Okay. And you were able to observe what was going on inside that house.
Yes, for 3 months. Yes.
Yes. You were able to observe if, in fact, there was any violent activities in that house. You would be able to observe that.
I would not look for it. It's a home, so I would not specifically find to violence. That answers the question.
Well, I was trying to find out if there was any signs of broken doors or broken knobs or glasses that you had observed at that time.
No, I don't look for things like that.
Okay, so it was pretty much a very quiet and happy family.
Yes.
How would you describe Mr. Milete's behavior at that time?
During the time that we lived there for 3 months,
Correct.
he's just normal Larry that's quiet. And yeah, that's about it. He's quiet. He plays with the kids, including my daughter. Yes, that's it.
How would you describe Mrs. Millete at the same time frame?
The same time in January 2016,
Yes.
she's also quiet. She works a lot, so we would eat together dinner sometimes. It's just a normal family.
Were you able to observe the relationship between Mr. Milete's parents and May Millete?
Objection beyond the scope.
Sustained. You know that.
Okay. When you say it's quiet and no fighting, would that mean that anyone residing in their home did not have any disagreements or yelling?
No, I don't. I did not observe that.
Okay. During that same time frame, did Miss Millete complain to you about Mr. Millete texting him all the time and calling him all the time?
Year of 2016, no.
Okay. So when did it start? When did Miss Millete complain to you about the texting, calling, going to her workplace?
In 2020, year 2020.
So prior to 2020, you can describe those texting and calling would be what?
Objection made.
Yes, and perhaps lack of foundation.
Okay.
So sustained.
To your knowledge, in the years from 2016 and 2019, there were no complaints about Mr. Milete's frequent phone calls to Mrs. Millete. Is that right?
Yes.
Do you have a knowledge of the pattern of his calls and texting in those years?
No.
So you did not hear about this marital problems of the couple until January 2020?
Yes.
Is that because Mr. Millete was not complaining about anything to you?
Can you please repeat the question?
Before January 2020, did you hear any complaints from Mr. Millete about his wife?
No.
And vice versa, how about Mrs. Millete?
No.
So what was the first complaint that you heard in January 2020 that caused you to believe that there was a marital problem between the two?
May had called me to her office one late evening that we're working late, and she asked me if that she needed a place to stay, that she and Larry is going to separate.
When you say May and you were working late, were you then working in the same building?
No.
Did you have the same working hours?
No.
When you heard what May wanted to do, did you understand exactly what the problem was?
I had to ask the question.
And what did you ask her?
I said that what is your driving force for doing this? You know, what happened? And then she said that
Okay, Lori.
she's exhausted.
Anything else did she say?
She's just exhausted. She went to a PSP audit, and that she needs to wake up at 5 in the morning, be ready by 6 for the whatever they have to do at work. She didn't have time to answer Larry's phone calls.
And that was the reason Miss Millete wanted to separate from her husband?
That's not the main reason, but it's one of the reasons why she's very exhausted.
So what was the main reason for Mrs. Millete desiring to separate from her husband?
She said that she needed space from Larry.
Did you understand what she meant by space?
Well, when she told me that she was exhausted about that PSP, that made her think that maybe she needed space from Larry so she can think clearly about their marriage.
And after she said that to you, did you think that was an adequate reason for her to leave her husband and move with you?
That's not my decision to make. If she needed a place to stay, I would be willing to help her.
Okay. So it didn't matter to you whether her desire for separation is serious or not. It was you accommodating Mrs. Millete into your home.
I don't understand the question.
Okay.
What is counsel trying to
You
do?
stated
She's trying to
that-
channel Larry's anger at this woman or something?
You were really just concerned about her desire to move out of her home and move in with you, correct?
If that is something that would make her clear her head, I would, yes.
Okay. And so you indicated to her what at that time? Did you tell her you can move in with me anytime or tomorrow or
I said that she's welcome. She didn't really give a date when she's gonna move in. She just wanted to secure a place. If she just said, I need space, I need a place to live. And I said, you know, is there anything, can you do counseling? Can you go see a counselor? And she said, yes. And then she said, I just need to clear my head. And I said, my how, you know, you're welcome. You're welcome at our apartment.
what was the matter with her head? Did she explain that to you, that what was going on in her head? She said she was exhausted. So was she exhausted physically? Was she exhausted mentally, emotionally?
She needed
Did she explain
space.
that to you?
You don't get space, lady?
Oh, you can answer.
I believe she's exhausted in all aspects that you mentioned.
And your belief was based on her explanation to you, correct?
That's just that. Please know that this is the first time that I'm hearing about the marriage problems. I am shocked too. So I am not in a position to be asking her every detail of her marriage problems. I feel like she needed someone to listen to her concerns. So if she needed a place to stay, then yes, she's more than welcome. Just as she helped me and I lived in their house.
This is clearly a thing
And that's
in
how
the
you
family.
felt.
Yes.
Okay. Now, during that conversation in January of 2020, did she indicate to you that she was going to bring her 3 children with her?
Counsel, you're misstating the witness's testimony. I don't believe the conversation occurred in January.
Well, the conversation in January 2020 is just her needing the space, and then she wanted a place to live.
Yeah, so she did make the request in January,
Yes,
but didn't move in until May.
yes.
My understanding was when she talked to you in January 2020, she told you she wanted to separate from her husband. That's not true?
It's true. It's one of the worst that she said. She was thinking about separating with Larry. She's just really confused at what she wanted to do. So needing a place to stay so she can clear her head whether she wanted to separate or not. That's the main theme of it.
She wasn't certain that she wanted to separate from Mr. Millete.
Objection asked and answered.
Sustained.
When you offered your place to her, did that happen in January
You're trying
or
to villainize
subsequent to
this
your
woman.
meeting in January 2020?
Objection asked and answered.
She can answer.
No, she did not move in January.
Okay. Do you know of any reason why she didn't move in with you until May of 2020?
No, I don't know. I just know that she also have the desire to just stay through the marriage and with considering the kids. In my mind, you know, that's
But she didn't say that to you, did she?
no.
Now, were you in touch with Miss Millete from that time on until she moved in with you, that gap of time? Were you in touch with her on a regular basis?
I don't recall, but we would go on walks when she goes to Starbucks. Again, she's a private person, so she doesn't necessarily talk about her problems.
So she didn't give you any reports of progress of how her relationship with Mr. Millete was doing or going on at that time, those what 4.5 or 4 months?
I
There
believe we have conversations about it.
And so what was your understanding what went on during those months?
Well, January, she told me that she wanted a space. February is the month where Larry called me about the investigation. March, April. So it was rocky between those months.
Did Mr. Millete called you in January 2020?
I don't remember.
Do you remember when Mr. Millete called you in reference to the marital problems that they were having?
He might have sent me a text, and when we go to their house, he would mention face to face.
You would discuss that with him personally.
Yes.
And did that happen in February of 2020?
I don't remember. I just know that the time that I know that they were having marital problems, my husband and I are full on 100% wanted to help both of them.
And you did, in fact, try to help them at the time by offering your place to Miss Millete.
Yes.
Okay. When did you discover that there was an investigation related to Mrs. Millete?
When Larry called me.
It was that in February
Yes.
2020. Okay. And when he called you, what exactly did he explain to you? What was happening between them?
He just said that, hey, Jen, I'm here at work.
Sustained. So I'm going to strike the response.
You became aware of an investigation because you were informed by Mr. Millete regarding it.
Yes, he called me.
Black Foundation.
I'm going to overrule it. She's not offering the statement, just how she became aware of it. I'll allow that.
Thank you, Yana. Can you answer the question?
Yes, he called me. He called me. He said that
I
he.
don't want you to tell me what he said. That, you learned about it from a phone call?
Yes, yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That's sufficient.
What was your understanding about this investigation?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
Did you hear about the investigation at work?
No, I only learned it from Larry.
Did you, at that time in February, call Miss Millete to ask her about the investigation?
No, I don't ask that question.
So you didn't call her.
I did not call May. I did not talk
Exactly,
about it.
Liz.
Did Mr. Millete start calling you frequently in February, or was that in May of 2020?
If we're talking about the investigation, Larry called me once about it. If we're talking about the communication with Larry, it's via text.
Okay. I just want to know if, in fact, you testified that Larry spoke to you or texted you numerous times during that 2020. Did those calls and texting occur after Mr. Millete told you about the investigation?
I believe so, but it's all in 2020.
But was it in February?
Yes. I don't remember. It's in the year of 2020 where I have a constant communication with Larry
Okay. When you say constant, you're referring to daily?
via text message.
Yes. And did you have an occasion to talk to Larry about other subject matters during the time of 2020?
Yes.
And in those phone calls and texting, you would talk to him about your children or what activities you were doing
Yes.
and issues that you were having, right?
Yes.
And it was not exclusively Larry telling you their marital problems.
It's the main topic.
And you were interested in listening to those.
because I wanted to help.
Okay. And you, in fact, encouraged him to call you.
Interesting that he's suddenly engaged with all the other family members when he needs them, right?
I don't know if I said that or I texted that, but I am here to support.
Right. And you indicated that you wanted to help him.
If I said that, yes, I want to
Yes.
help.
And in fact, you showed sympathy to his feelings. And when he was telling you that he was worried and he felt sick in his stomach, had
What's the
anxiety, and
relevancy?
telling you how he was feeling, you showed sympathy to him.
Of course, you show sympathy for people's
Yes.
feelings.
And he felt very comfortable in texting you and calling you all those days.
Objection calls for speculation.
The
Sustained.
witness is not on trial.
You never told him to stop calling
The
me,
witness
right?
hasn't done anything wrong. Stop it.
Is that a question?
Yes.
No, I did not tell him to stop calling me.
And you didn't tell him to stop texting you that you're bothered or you can't focus or you don't want to hear from
What
him.
does this have to
I
do
offered
anything?
ways for him to cope with the marriage problem by referring him to our pastor at church.
Okay.
It was an indirect way of saying I probably cannot help anymore, so maybe the counselor can help you more.
Yes.
And he did take up your advice regarding the pastor at your church,
Not if he
correct?
killed his
Yes.
wife.
And that's the same church that you took the children when you took them on that, January the 10th?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Millete followed your advice and spoke to the pastor Serrano, I think you said.
Yes.
And in fact, he did
Exactly.
take Miss Millete with him.
Yes.
And they were going several times.
I don't know the frequency, but I know that they went together.
In his mind, I'm sure Larry blames the family for harboring,
Did Mr. Millete
for supporting Maya.
inform you or shared with you the experience with the pastor and May? Did you have a conversation regarding that?
I believe so, yes.
So what was the essence of that communication?
Objection calls for hearsay.
Sustained.
Was Miss Millete receptive to participating in attending church?
I don't believe so.
Why is that?
That's what Larry told me that
Objection calls for hearsay.
Yes, I'm going to sustain a hearsay objection. I'm not going to allow him to evidence any statements that he's made through cross-examination.
Were you disappointed about the result of the contact with the pastor?
Objection relevance.
Overruled. You can answer.
it's for the two of them. It's not. I'm not the one married. It's for them. So whatever they decide to do, that's what's gonna happen. So
I feel like she's been a really good witness.
Did the pastor visits before Miss Millete move in with you or after?
can you please repeat the question?
The visit to Pastor Serrano, did that occur before Miss Millete moved in with you in your residence or after?
Actually, I'm now going to sustain a relevance objection. I think you need to move on.
Thank you,
Yeah, I
Judge.
just want to show that in fact she's trying to help them, get their relationship better before she allowed Miss Millete to move in with her.
That's not her
I
job.
think the timeline has been established.
Oh, okay. We'll deal with that later. So by May 1st, 2021. Miss Millete, I believe, had a birthday, right?
Yes.
Did you have a birthday celebration with the entire family?
No.
Why?
Objection.
It was COVID.
It's a, you can answer. COVID.
There was COVID in 2020.
Remember.
And then yes, and then she just wanted to do something for her birthday. So yeah, we celebrated. Oh, there's family member Marcus was there and Rika.
You did have a celebration.
Well, that was not the entire family.
But you
Who
left Larry
celebrated
out.
with her?
You're mean.
Okay, so Mother's Day in May of 2020 was what, May 8th?
I don't remember.
I'd offer a stipulation that it's May 10th.
Do you join in that stipulation?
Well, I wanted to ask her if she spent Mother's Day with the children
Well,
because
the
she was
stipulation
concerned.
is, was that Mother's Day? That's the stipulation. Do you agree to that?
That's fine. May 10th.
If you want to double check, we can. come
It's
back
okay,
after lunch.
Yana. I will stipulate to Mother's Day as May 10th. I believe
May
that
10,
was-
2020 was definitely Mother's
Mother's
Day.
Day.
That's the day Suzanne Morphy went
Do you
missing, so I
know if
remember
Miss
it.
Millete spent Mother's Day with her 3 children?
I don't know. I think so.
I agree, Lester. I like this
Did she
judge.
tell you?
Counsel, move on.
Thank you,
Okay.
Judge.
You knew about the allegations of Miss Millete having affair with someone at Swarmac. Is that right?
I learned it from Mary.
And when was that you learned it from Mr. Millete?
It was first a suspicion in February of 2020. We were still not sure if it's really going on or not. It was just suspicion.
When you say we, are you referring to who are you referring to when you say
Well, me and Larry. Larry was telling me that he has a suspicion that there's an affair, but we couldn't pinpoint, or he couldn't pinpoint if it's true or not.
so prior to Miss Millete moving in with you on May 10th, Mr. Millete discussed with you about the alleged affair and he was seeking for your help on May 8, 2020. According to your earlier testimony, it's 13-1.
Okay.
And when the first blue statement says, please help me with Maya. And that was text to you on May 8, 2020 in the morning at 10:30. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you understand why he was asking for your help?
They have marriage problems.
And what kind of help was she seeking from you?
What kind of help Larry is asking me?
Yes.
Maybe talk to me to staying in the marriage.
Did he say that to you?
No. I don't know. I couldn't remember in this way why is he asking me for help, but the entire theme of year 2020 is their marital problems. So in this particular text, I don't remember what help.
Is it
needs.
fair to say that you knew about the alleged affair regarding Mr. and Mrs. Millete and whoever it is that she's having an affair in February 2020.
Ask and answer.
What?
You don't have to answer.
I was trying to find out, Your Honor, that when he called and asked for help, was it in reference to that affair?
I
Why
don't
does that
believe so.
matter?
No.
Okay, is it in reference to encourage or convince Mrs. Millete to stay in the marriage?
Yes.
Okay. And at that time, you welcome, approximately May 10 or so, you welcome Miss Millete to move in with you.
Yes.
And it was your understanding that that was temporary, or was it your understanding that she was going to separate from her husband, Mr. Millete?
It was temporary because she needed space and she just needs to clear her head. She's not thinking of divorcing Larry at that time. When I say separate, physically separate. Okay, Larry living in Paseo de los Gatos, May living in our apartment.
You go, Genesis.
So it was your understanding that there was still some relationship between the two of them, and they're still communicating with each other and having a some sort of a relationship as a husband and wife.
Yes, they're working on fixing their marriage, in my
And
own opinion.
all right. And then they had their own schedule about the vehicles. Is that right?
I just noticed it. They didn't really tell me what they're doing.
And Mrs. Millete told you that Larry didn't want her to use the Lexus or park it in your apartment each night.
She told me because I asked, why do you have to keep driving two separate cars? So that's why she told me, oh, Larry doesn't want me to park the Lexus outside.
Did she explain why?
It's a side street. There's no garage.
Okay. Was the Lexus brand new at that time?
I don't know.
Yes. All right, we're going to break.
Okay, then, thank you.
We'll resume at 1:30. We're back.
Sorry, I was muted. So I'm with you guys. He was, I mean, the Larry is basically angry at the family for allowing to Maya to take shelter in their home while they were separated, and all that questioning is now coming out from through this hearing. And they're wasting time. If there really is a good defense to be put on here, they're wasting time on all this mumbo jumbo bullshit. And I want to say something about the mask too. He's the only person in the room wearing a mask. The only guy, the only person in the room wearing a mask. And I wonder if he thinks that I don't know if there's some like logical official reason for him to be wearing that mask, but I agree that he probably thinks that he should cover his face for some reason, but he's the only one. This wasn't some random act of violence where we don't know what the killer looks like, where we don't know what the suspected killer looks like.
Second one comes with a bit of a lull.
It's a domestic violence case where, I mean, what did they think? Some other random guy snuck into the room and we don't know what I just, oops. I just don't I don't get his thinking there. I don't understand his thinking. And, you know, remember how Darrell Brooks, the Waukesha parade killer, he always wore a mask too. And it was as if, you know, he was trying to cover his face too. And I just start to wonder, I know there's a lot of jailhouse advice going on, you know, all the people who are sitting together pending trial and all this stuff, they talk about jail, you know, about court strategy, and my sense is that they sit around going, definitely wear a mask the whole time, because then, you know, they can't get a full recognition of you or something like that. I don't know, but it seems like really stupid advice. He's the only guy in the room. I don't get it. I just might not be thinking of something. But it really bothers me how this lawyer is trying to make it the family's fault, you know, the sister-in-law's fault, that Maya felt smothered. She was being controlled and you know, and at least emotionally abused. It's called coercive control, you know. And it's not the family's fault that Larry's doing these things and that Maya's having this reaction and she needs space. It's not the family's fault that Maya decides to get a divorce, right? Yeah. So yeah, easier to guard your facial looks with a mask on. It's easier to guard your facial looks with a mask on, but it's not like we don't know what this guy looks like. I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't, it's sometimes the thinking. And, you know, we were talking about this yesterday in chat as the hearing was going on. People, especially, you know, people who have just a chronic criminal mindset or a toxic mindset, can't get out of their head that other people don't think the way they do. So Genesis is a good example of that. You know, there was questioning about, did you see signs of abuse in the home? She's like, I'm not looking for signs of abuse in the home. That's not the way I think. And, you know, there might be other people who have been in that environment or are abusive, you know, who might look for those signs naturally. Like it's just a natural part of their thinking. But not everybody has that natural part of that thinking. And there are just some people who aren't able to see other people's perspectives and think that, well, everybody has a motive to kill if they can't control somebody, right? Or everybody has a motive to conspire against other people. Everybody lies. Everybody does that. No, not everybody does the things that criminals do. Not everybody does the things that manipulative and toxic people do. So, excuse me. What did it say that JR showed us on the stand, that he slammed his open hand on the wall right above his head, complaining about not being able to exactly. That's funny that it corrected to eating violence. Oh my gosh. Eating violence. Anyway. Yeah, I was talking about that earlier. It's like, that's a pattern, you know. It's when you know that there are several holes in the wall, because Larry has a tendency to like put his fist through the wall near the person he's angry at, and then he demonstrates that on, you know, on a brother-in-law on the night that he's looking for his missing sister, you know, and says, I can't believe that this is called domestic violence. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Anyway. I mean, I was so tense watching Darrell basically get off on badgering and abusing ex-baby mom. I was horrible. That was horrible. I mean, it's so uncomfortable sometimes. You know, there are a lot of, right now, there are more and more pro se litigants, meaning people who are representing themselves. And that's what Darrell Brooks did. And to you know, especially in a criminal case, when there's a pro se litigant and they have to and the their own victim has to sit on the stand and be badgered by them, like the court gives them a platform on which to pretend that they have some sort of authority to question them and probe into their lives and use the court system to get records that they normally wouldn't get. I mean, it's just absolutely, it's invasive, abusive, it's toxic. And, you know, all we can do is recognize when someone's trying to engage that with us and quietly back out, you know? So anyway, they're probably coming back at 1:30. I will start things back up this afternoon at 1:30. And please remember to hit the thumbs up. Consider becoming a member. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate the great conversation. I really appreciate you keeping it kind and respectful and thoughtful. I really do. So I will see you this afternoon.